Botticelli, and welcome to my Storyteller horoscope for you for March 2019. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, if you'd like to book a live reading. Also, if you love the way I teach astrology and want to learn, there may be some slots in my astrology apprenticeship program. You can see more about and order my book, Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days, which has now become an Amazon bestseller. So you can see more about that at anniehelpsyou.com or at radicalprayerbook.com. So for Aries for March 2019, we've got lots of stuff to discuss. We've got birthdays starting. We've got the pre-birthday funk that tends to happen to discuss. We have so much energy in water this month, which is not generally in the comfort zone of the Aries placements, unless you're an Aries placement that also has a ton of water energy, which some people are on the cusp or also have a lot of Pisces planets that affect how their Aries placements are experienced. But we do have a ton of Aries energy ongoing in the cosmos that is making major important aspects with your placements. And then starting March 20th, the sun's going to move into Aries and light all of those planets up. Mercury is soon to follow. We've got a massive amount of energy in the career work section still being highlighted in the long term for Aries, but also in the short term. So lots of potentials with your work out in the world, trying to get on track with your life purpose, what you're trying to do with life. We've got a ton of energy in the rebirth section, in the reevaluation section. We're going to have your money sector start to be highlighted from Mars, your ruler. So we've just got a massive amount of stuff going on. We've got a full moon in Libra, which opposes your sign. So that's going to have effects as well. So I want to do a good detailed job with going into all these things that I just listed. So in order to do that, I need to have the visuals. So I'm going to show you the charts that I am looking at and explain the whys, not just the whats, as to what you can expect for March 2019 for Aries. So let's look at those charts now. Hello Aries friends. Okay, so I'm going to go in and give you lots of details about March for you. The theme of this month is Let the ARIES-FEST Begin. There are so many noteworthy things for your sign. For our sign this month, I have Aries rising, so all of this is relevant for me too. So the first thing we need to know to best use the information that I'm going to give you is where in the Aries spectrum of 30 degrees, there are 30 degrees in each sign, where in there are you? So early Aries are pretty much the March born, if you know your degree, that's 0 to 9 degrees. And if you are watching for your rising or moon, if you have a rising or moon in Aries, this report works for you as well. I always recommend for people to watch at least their rising and their sun. For sure. These are each different windows that we look out of in the house of our experience. And each of them are equally as valid. So you can get more information by watching these different placements for yourself if you know them. Okay, so 0 through 9 degrees is early. Middle Aries is around April 11th through, April 1st through 10th, sorry. Or 10 to 19 degrees. And then late Aries is April 11th through the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. So if you missed any of that, just rewind it and figure out where you are, because you will want to know that. I will be jumping back and forth talking about what's relevant for each of you. There are some things that are relevant for all of you. So here we go. Let's just get this stuff off of here. Now we can let the fun begin. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is birthdays. Okay, we're using an early chart here, but it doesn't matter because we're not, actually, I might jump back and forth for this. Okay, so when it is birthday time, we'll just use the early chart for this for now. That means the sun has gone around its full orbit and it's come back to the place where it was when you were born. It takes a year. When that happens, it's called a solar return. The sun in the sky is lined up with the sun in your chart. The sun in astrology represents your desire. That's where birthday wishes come from. They're astrologically based. So when the sun in the sky gets back to the same degree that it was at when you were born, a magical portal for your wishes opens, hence birthday wishes. Now, if you are watching for your rising sign, then this is, and even for your moon sign to some degree, but this time is still very special for you because the sun crossing over your moon or your rising or your sun denotes this time of new birth and new beginnings, new possibilities. It's the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. Okay, so in order to best utilize your birthday wishes, do a search for Annie making wishes come true. Or just, if you just search for Annie making wishes, I think it will come up in a Google search. And you can watch my video on this topic to help you maximize this magical time. So happy birthday to you, Aries friends, and happy new beginnings for the rest of you. All right, so now I want to show you the difference in the charts with what happens right before your birthday or before the sun crosses over your ascendant or moon, whatever you're rising for or watching for. So before that crossover, the sun is moving through the 12th house. Okay, so since it's not till the end of March that even the early placements will have this crossover, this is the crossover point, you can see for most of the month, the sun is going to be traveling through the 12th house. Then when you look at the middle chart, it's back a little bit further, so it will be taking longer to move through the 12th house. And for you late degree placements, it's going to take even longer. Okay, but in the month of March, or coming very soon, you all are going to have the experience of the sun moving through the 12th house. Just going to be staggered. It's usually about 4 weeks or so before your birthday or before the crossover point. The sun is like a flashlight. Wherever it goes, it shines this light on the energy of that house, and it makes that area of life a focus. The 12th house happens to be the house of our deep unconscious mind. So when you have a flashlight there, I always liken it to like looking behind a refrigerator or looking in an attic or looking in a basement. You see pretty like gross things in there, you know, that you don't really want to see. But you also find gems. Sometimes you find that thing you lost or something of family value or sentimental value. And so either way, this 12th house is a place that's rich with hidden treasures and hidden fears, things to work through, things to clear out. So in the weeks before your birthday or the crossover point for your other placements, it can get very uncomfortable because this is an emotional house. And unless you're an Aries that has a ton of Pisces placements, the energy of emotion and like sitting and feeling isn't as much in resonance with the action-oriented Aries. Like I have Aries rising, we want to go, 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 right? We don't want to really stop and feel. And if people are like feeling, it's not that we're insensitive, you know, although I guess sometimes the energy could manifest that way or people could experience it that way, but it's just action-oriented. So during this time of the year when the sun is in this place, it really can be uncomfortable. But if you're a person who's a spiritual seeker, then it is a veritable gold mine of a time because you can use this to do deep inner work. Inner work is, you know, anything like psychology, past life regression, hypnosis, working with your dreams, any kind of counseling, neurolinguistic programming, which I love, EMDR, which is another amazing trauma therapy. If you utilize this time, you can best use it. What many people wind up doing is they self-medicate. And that is not the best way to do it. Sometimes they call it the celebrating your birthday early, right? But usually what that winds up being is avoiding the feelings that come up here. So if you can greet them full on, greet them and just be with them and work with them, then you can really maximize this. Because when the sun gets back to the magical point that we talked about, when your desires have a chance to be realized in a big way, you want to know the things that you don't want. And the 12th house seems to bring up those things that you don't want, the things you're trying to fix, the things you're trying to adjust, the things you're trying to, make better, so that you can best get clear on what you do want. One of the first rules of manifestation is clarity about your desires. So this is purposeful. It's not meant to torture you. Okay, so the pre-birthday funk is very typical for many people. And this is, all early, middle, and late. I'm using the late chart, but when the sun moves through that 12th house, It definitely brings things up. Also can show things going on in the backdrop of any kind. Okay, so now let's get on to this ARIES-FEST. And this is really good. So look at all of these planets. I'm using the late degree chart, but this is relevant for all of you. We have all of these planets that are moving through Aries, and then once we get to the March 30th, the Sun is going to move through Aries, and then coming later, Mercury will be there. It looks like it's about to be there, but it's going to retrograde. Okay, so every planet that crosses over your planet in Aries activates something. It creates a conjunction. A conjunction is the most powerful aspect in astrology, is where something is right together with something else. So the Sun coming and passing through your placements over March and into April just lights everything up, lights up your placement, brings focus, brings warmth, can bring great manifestation. And each of these other planets, these are moving in the long term, but they're still activating things for each of you. So like you early degree placements, all you guys like right at the beginning of the sign, you have Chiron working here. Now this is one of those placements where Chiron is the wounded healer. So this can bring up like feeling sorry for yourself, like kind of like, wah. In general, Aries energy usually doesn't take the time to feel bad for themselves, right? They just keep taking action and doing stuff. I know that's what I tend to do. But when Chiron crosses over your placement, as it will for all of you over the next 5 or so years, but you early degree placements are really having this happen right now, it can bring that woundedness up. And that doesn't feel good. And if you don't know what's going on, it could be confusing and upsetting. But if you know what's going on, then you know that any victim mentality that is hidden in there, and this can be very sneaky sometimes, any kind of hidden victim mentality wants to be healed. And the degree to which you heal it, the degree to which you regain massive amounts of power that you have latent within you. So then you've got the middle degree. Well, like this is more like the first week or so of April. I'm not going to talk in detail about these. I will talk about our goddess asteroids in the future. I have a plan for unveiling them. But just know that there's an activation going on, especially for you all in the first week, because you're having these beautiful goddesses crossing over your placements. In many cases, it's awakening the divine feminine. And the divine feminine can be awoken in men, women, anything in between, anything in anybody in any designation. The story of the divine feminine is being very much worked with, especially all y'all in the first week of the birthdays, or anywhere between 12 and 17 degrees if you're watching for your moon or rising. Then those of you at the very end, you have Uranus being done with you. And this is a relief, I think, for all of Aries. It's like, oh, goodness. Having the planet of volatility, abruptness, change, things coming out of the blue, jolting, surprises, going through our sign for an extended period of time means that we've had Uranus cross over any placements, Aries placements we've had, over 7 or so years. It's really stressful. So those of you in the last end, like almost Taurus placements, close to the cusp, you've got these last pieces here, and that could be bringing massive change for you all. Now, massive change can be up for anybody, depending on what other placements you have, because Uranus is moving into Taurus, and this is a big time. It's definitely earth-shaking. We just went through the eclipses. News could still be coming in or integrating from that. But in general, a time of relief with Uranus passing. Those of you at the end there, you still have possibly some more surprises ahead of you while Uranus works itself out. Something else that I love is that we've got planets in Sag that are making trines to Aries placements. All right, so this is a big deal. And really, Jupiter in Sagittarius, no matter what your Aries placement, so this is relevant for all of you, is enhancing everything about Aries, because just the energy of the fire sign being represented strongly with an outer planet for an extended period of time, so starting from the end of 2018 through almost all of 2019, it's just a boost to everything that's Aries for the whole year. But those of you who have between around 21 and 24 degrees, those placements, or between April 11th and 14th, this month will be especially highlighted as Jupiter makes exact trines with your placement. Now, if you're from April 3rd through 13th, then you still have a lot of work with Jupiter in the near future, because in April when Jupiter goes retrograde, it's going to go back all the way to those April 3rd dates. So, or 13, actually that's not the 13th, sorry. Let me just clarify this for a second. If your birthday is around April 3rd or after, you still have a lot of juicy time with direct angles from Jupiter, because Jupiter is going to go back to 13 degrees. That's what I was trying to say. All right, so it's going to get up to 24 degrees, and that's where it'll be this month, between 21 and 24 degrees. That's, you all with April 11th to 14th especially, but like I said, you all will be feeling this. And then when it retrogrades, it's going to go back to 13 degrees. So back to around the April 3rd or 13 degree point. And then it will move forward again and cross over everything from April 3rd all the way till the end of the sign. It will spend the rest of the year doing that. So there's a ton of time left for most of the Aries placements with direct Jupiter trines, which is the sweetest aspect in all astrology. And those of you that are the earlier born there, don't feel like you're left out of it. Hopefully you had some really good things happen in recent months as Jupiter was making that aspect for you. And if it didn't, then don't worry, because Jupiter is known for planting seeds. So sometimes nothing of note happens when the actual aspect happens. So for you earlier degree placements, we'll say the March born, when Jupiter made that trine to your Aries placement, if nothing notable happened, a seed could have been planted. You could have had an idea, you could have met somebody on any level that could evolve. You could have put something into action that may not have seemed like much, but it has a whole 12 years of the Jupiter cycle to grow into beautiful flowers. So you're not left out of this, but there's definitely more activity for those placements April 3rd and on. Okay, so we've got the astrological new year starts when the sun moves into Aries, which is the 20th of March. So that's a really big deal. That's one of the best days for doing a vision board. And the next really good day will be, well, of course, your birthday is always a good day to do a vision board. And then when we have the new moon in Aries in April, that will be another really great day to do that. Something else that is notable that's happening, and this again is going to affect all Aries, okay, this is for all of you, is the full moon in Libra. And this is on March 20th, or this could be staggered depending on your time zone, okay? So in the days around March 20th, there's the 3rd supermoon in a row. January, February, March, we had supermoons, which mean the moon is actually closer to the Earth. It looks bigger in the sky, and its gravitational effects are more profound. So at the time of recording this, we've recently passed through that eclipse, which was, wow, really powerful. Now these second full moons, the one in February and the one in March, are not going to be eclipses, so they won't carry the same power, but they will carry more power than normal new or normal full moons do. And because this is in a sign that makes a sweet aspect to your sign, or actually, instead of the word sweet, I'm thinking sweet from the perspective of self-development. But from the astrological perspective, it's making a 180-degree angle. Now, it's Aries and Libra are in synastry because one is air and one is fire. So in that way, there's sweetness between their connection. But because they're opposing each other, this can be a point of a crisis when a full moon opposes your placement, or a breakthrough, or both. Sometimes it takes a crisis to be able to push through something that has been stodgy and old that you're trying to get through. So all Aries will feel, especially this pull between self and partnership, especially at this time. Okay, so trying to do stuff for yourself, being pulled by other people in your life. You know, now the way I've seen this manifest, and this is back to what I was originally thinking with the sweetness too, is that you can enter superhero mode. Oppositions I call the superhero aspect. Because when you can manage them, you're like doing everything at once. You have all the balls up in the air, nothing's dropping. And you find that place in yourself where you can, even though you're being pulled in both ways, you're actually transcending the struggle and managing both things beautifully. So that could definitely happen. But for some people, it will be stressful. It will be a crisis. It will be some drama with a relationship. For some people, it could be a health crisis if your body's been talking to you and you haven't been listening, or you're looking for a breakthrough and you need more answers. But especially those of you, back again where I was talking about with Chiron, those of you like in the March 20th, 21st, 22nd, up to the 25th or so, like March 20th through the 25th, or like 0 to 5 degrees, you will be affected the most by this Libra full moon because it's at 0 degrees, so we count 5 degrees, orb. So big deal for you all. And then the fact that this is happening near your birthday or on your birthday means that this year will be a very profound year, could be a major breakthrough year. It's hard to write on this. So a lot of activity for Aries. Anyway, you can see it's just busy, 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 busy. My general recommendation for this time for Aries is to try to stay grounded, try to stay rested, definitely try to use the energy productively because there will be a lot of energy, but there is a surprising amount of new energy even amidst the retrograde. Usually the retrograde is all about the past, and there will be topics from the past, unresolved things from the past, blessings from the past that come into play here. But because it's the third month in a row of this 0 degree supermoon, starting at the beginning of the sign, it's the first degree of the sign, 3 months in a row, there's so much of this just like clean slate energy that we've been talking about since January. So some of these crises that could come up could really be the things that actually make the change. So if you've been kind of going back and forth with things for a long time and nothing's changing, this could definitely be the time where you leave old patterns behind. And sometimes it may involve you having to actually do something about it, taking an active role in your destiny. But some other ones, if you've been working on it and it hasn't seemed to work, you might just wake up one day and be like, oh my gosh, that's not even a problem anymore. It's very powerful energy. Okay, so those are the things that are most on my mind for Aries this month. Now I want to talk about the important general transits, some dates to watch for better and worse, and some other things that you need to know about this month that will affect you. So the general transits of March 2019 carry the energy of sudden changes amidst a quiet rest. March continues the trend that started in February of 2019 with more sweet aspects than challenging ones, which is very exciting. So this dreamy and creative Pisces energy is going to dominate the month of March. Then around the 20th, as the sun moves into Aries, the climate will change. The energy will change, but most of the month is covered in this quiet creativity after this push of the window that we had that opened at the end of December and went into the end of February, beginning of March. So it's a great time to experiment and work in the backdrop. Things from the past are very likely to come back. Blessings from the past, things you've done from the past, projects from the past, people from the past. There's a strong tilt with the retrograde energies. So Mercury will officially be in retrograde from March 5th through the 28th. Depending on your time zone, those dates could toggle a little bit. But the whole month, and even starting February 19th and going to April 17th, there's the retrograde transit because there's a pre-transit shadow period and a post-transit shadow period when the energies are starting to shift. So it's a long transit. Making commitments to short-term arrangements could be perfectly fine, but just know that in general, the energy shows a shorter term agreement or a shorter term energy. So things that you do in this time, if you're intending them to be long term, they often wind up being shorter term than expected, or if they do make it into the long term, they get seriously called into question or have to change dramatically in order to be able to persevere. But for short term things, interim plans, things like that, it can be perfectly fine. It's great for trying on things, continuing with things you've already been doing, editing, anything like that. Also watch paperwork and other agreement details carefully, because Mercury ruling communication can interfere with the clarity of information that you get at this time, and things agreed to will likely be shifted, or you might not know all the information. Also, things involving transportation are more likely to come up. So problems with your car, trips, changes to plans, those are all common. But in general, the month has definitely more sweet aspects than challenging ones, and it's a very nice rest in between these push points. Okay, so once we start to get into April, it's going to be time to push again, and you'll start to feel that energy starting at the end of March, but it's going to brew and get stronger and more clear as we get into April. One of the twists, or the big twist this month, is amidst this smooth and introspective flow, Uranus is moving back into Taurus to stay until, you know, years from now. So generally the transit is around 7 years. It popped in last year to Taurus and then it went out. And as you may recall, the energy as it popped in is or was instigating earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and wild weather that has still continued. Also, there have been a lot of things going on in the news that relate to the breakup of old systems and the solidity of intact systems that are getting disrupted. And Uranus moving through Taurus, this is very typical of that energy. So these kind of changes and disruptions and volatility probably will shift. So our relationship to the changes is what we get to have control over. So these changes to old systems can be a very welcome thing if things are stodgy and not working. But in the places where there's some security, sometimes that can be upset in these times. And this goes all the way down, you know, starting at the global level, all the way down to the individual experience. So Uranus bringing changes there amidst this quiet time and beyond. In general, the commitment or the recommendation for this time is to keep your commitments as light as possible and as flexible as possible. You can certainly do things, but just know that things that are planned could get called into question. There could be shifts. They could still work out, but there's definitely a lot more of a kind of a last minute flowing, flexible energy that works well with this time. So I'm going to give you the days that there are sweet aspects. Do know that even if I give you a date that's supposed to have a sweet aspect, you can feel that aspect days before or days after. And some days have more than one aspect, with one of them being sweet and one of them being challenging. So you really just need to tune into your intuition with this awareness. The dates I'm going to give you, you can also find written as well as explanations of all the aspects and what you can expect with them when you go to AnnieHelpsYou.com and sign up for my free email newsletter. Then I send out a written version of this general report a month beforehand so that you have it to look at and make your plans and you can understand the energies at play. But in general, try not to stick too heavily to a certain date as being a certain way, because the carryover of the aspects can definitely, you know, stretch over a period of time. So you just kind of have to feel your way through. Okay, so the dates with the sweet vibes: March 2nd, 6th, 8th, 9th, 13th, 14th, 17th, 20th, 27th, and 28th. And the ones to look out for a likelihood of stress and challenges and drama or overstimulation or general awkwardness: March 1st, 5th, 6th, 14th, 15th, 22nd, and 28th. So you can see there are less of those aspects that are more challenging. So I'm just going to hit a couple of other highlights here, some of the dates that are most calling out to me to discuss. The rest of them, like I said, you can sign up for the newsletter and you can see all of my aspects that I put on here for you in the newsletter. Okay, so on March 1st, it kind of starts out with a bang with an aspect with Venus and Uranus. So often that can bring jolts to love or money or your certainty or self-esteem. So just kind of look out for that. But there is another sweet aspect or a sweet aspect the day after that could kind of help to bring a happy outcome from that or could soften the energy. The days around March 5th, Mercury actually goes retrograde, and there's more awkwardness around the days before and after it changes station. So, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, more awkwardness, more changes, you know, just try to keep your scheduling light. One of the big days of the month is March 6th, the new moon at almost 16 degrees of Pisces, and this is also going to be conjunct Neptune, the Sun conjunct Neptune. So you can check out my blog if you go to Annie Helps You, or if you just search for Making Powerful New Moon Wishes in Pisces, you can find my blog that helps to guide you using that energy in the best way for creating the life of your dreams. But in general, this is an extremely dreamy and introspective month, and this moon is especially so because of that, because of the sign it's in and because of the Neptune aspect. But it's an artist's delight, and I really love this time for rest and retreat and rejuvenation and being surrounded by inspiration, going to an inspiring place. Definitely watch your security all month, but this particular transit, things going on behind, you know, your conscious knowing with internet or home or other security, just be on guard there. Okay, March 6th is the date that Uranus moves back into Taurus. Sometimes we see things happen to the date or very close to the date that are notable, although things have already been happening already since Uranus has been marching back towards Taurus. Things have been really getting stirred up over the last couple of months. All right, some sweet aspects and challenging aspects that I listed the dates already, but the other big date I want to talk about is that full moon at 0 degrees of Libra on March 20th. I talked about this in some of the individual reports as well, but this is the 3rd supermoon in a row. And it's the 3rd one at 0 degrees, which is the 1st degree of the sign. So this is denoting major new beginnings, major clean slates, major breakup of old ways. Some of those ways we don't want to leave, you know, and so we could be resisting, but some of it could be welcome change that we've been working for a long time, and just sort of karma clearing up and lots of magic. I really love this full moon, even though it will be intense for better and worse. Full moons are always intense, but this is also a supermoon, and it's also at the, you know, that 1st degree. So think about the intensity that we had at the eclipse time around January 21st, and then the full moon in February. Those supermoons tend to bring more emotion and more power to the experience. This is also the spring equinox. This is also the first day of the astrological new year, which is a very exciting time to do a vision board. Also, the new moon in Aries, which will happen in April, is one of the other best times to do a vision board, planting seeds for what you would like to create in your life. But this March 20th time is very, very powerful, very, very powerful. There's also 3 awesome aspects that are occurring simultaneously. Mars in Taurus is trining Pluto, and Mercury in Pisces is making a sweet aspect to Saturn, or maybe that was it. So there's 2 aspects. And those are just adding to the beautiful, powerful nature of this time. So then on March 28th, we have, or the 27th, depending on your time zone, Mercury is going direct. So again, the awkwardness around those dates, to just be extra careful driving, walking, with your communications, your devices, don't drop them in the toilet. This is more likely to happen during these Mercury retrograde cycles where your cars or other vehicles or communication devices need some attention or extra care. Don't text while you're driving. Don't text while you're walking, if you can help it. Oh, one other thing, we started out the month with that challenging aspect with Venus on March 1st, and now we end the month with a sweet aspect with Venus. So sweet surprises in money and love can come with this one. So it's a nice counterbalance to that jolt at the beginning of the month. So if you love how I do astrology and you'd love a live reading, you can go to anniehelpsyou.com, click on Work With Me, and see my astrology coaching section if you would love to learn astrology because you resonate with how I teach. There may be some slots left in my astrology apprenticeship program. I would love to have you aboard. If you think I go into details in the reports, then you should see the details I go into the astrology apprenticeship program. Definitely check out my new book, Radical Prayer: Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. It has already become an Amazon bestseller, so it's very exciting. So you can either go to radicalprayerbook.com, or you can search for my name and Radical Prayer in Amazon. Also, that should start to be available internationally at different booksellers. You should be able to get that at kind of brick and mortar bookstores as well. So go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, go to CozyBySweetStarlight.com for written horoscopes from me. I also do a write-up talking about different things than I do in the videos that supplement, and if the videos are a little bit intense, the CozyBySweetStarlight.com horoscopes are the antidote to that. They're super light, super easy to follow, and give you some different aspects to understand. Okay, so you can go to my husband's website, IamHelios.com, IamHelios.com. He does tarot readings. He also does some astrology readings, and he does visual work with audio-visual work. So you can check out his offerings there. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.